Hello and welcome to my video today. This is a follow-up on the washer tank sensor replacement that I did a few weeks ago. It's been about 3 weeks since I have put that new sensor in. And one thing I want to let you know is that it's probably a better method to replace the pump for that tank in order to clean the bottom of the tank area. If there's any rust or other debris on the bottom, it's probably a good idea to remove that pump. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you follow the previous video, it's pretty much the same thing until I get to the point where I remove the sensor. You can remove the pump instead. It has the same type of fitting that goes into the tank. So once that's pulled out, the washer fluid will drain. Make sure to have some sort of bucket underneath to catch it so you don't make too much of a mess. And I'm going to show how to clean it up. I have a Shop Vac here, and I'm also going to be using some silicone lubricant on both of the grommets for those two pieces, the pump and the sensor. I'll be covering all that in this video today. So let's get started. So just like before, I'm going to be lifting the right side of the car. Make sure you use wheel chocks on both sides so that the vehicle doesn't move while it's on the jack stand. I'm going to be removing the wheel and then get started with the area where the windshield wiper tank is located. All right, so this should look familiar. We have the washer tank right here, and we have the sensor right here. The pump, which is located lower in the tank, is right here. So this is what we're going to be removing today. Here we go. I put a bucket underneath the area here, and then above that I lined a whole bunch of grocery bags with some painter's tape so that when we pull the pump out, all of the washer fluid gets directed down the bags and into the bucket. We don't want to have any of this getting on the brake components or the wiring underneath. So I consider this pretty important to do and pretty inexpensive. I'm sure you have some grocery bags you could use for this. And also I recommend using rubber or nitrile gloves since the washer fluid is not good for your skin. So at this point, I'm going to pull out the pump. It should come straight out, and you may need to wiggle it a little bit to do that, but I'll be trying this right now. Notice when it first came out, it was pretty rusty looking. And then as it went through, the top is all clear. So at this point, I'm going to just put the pump out of the way. And as you can see, this is the opening here. I'm going to get a better, closer look here to show you that. Okay, here we are at the bottom of the tank. This is where the pump was connected. I'm going to remove the grommet. can see some rusty buildup in there. Okay, I am going to start vacuuming out whatever debris is in there. So here's my Shop Vac. I've adjusted it so that it can vacuum liquids now. Just to remind you, a lot of these Shop Vacs have filters in them for dry vacuuming. Definitely remove the filter before you do wet vacuuming. Here's my hose that I have, and I happen to have a kit that I got a long time ago for washing cars. This is for interior cleaning that you can get in crevices. So I think this should be a perfect addition to the vacuum, since it will be able to get into the tank opening, and I'll be able to vacuum up any debris that's inside the tank. So let's go start that now. It's hard to get a good look in there, but I think I got it pretty good. I don't see any more rust spots in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain some more washer fluid through here and then just kind of clean out whatever else is on the bottom. So I think that two-part method of vacuuming the best you can and then flushing it is going to be, I think, the optimal solution. Well, putting more fluid in there and rinsing it out, I think, seemed to help. It seems to get rid of more of the rust deposits. Now I'm going to vacuum what's left inside there. You may need to do this a couple times to thoroughly clean the inside. All right, so that looked pretty good. Everything going through there seemed to come out clean. So I think it is pretty good. I am going to do one more vacuum, and then I'm going to put the motor back in. So now I'm going to apply some silicone lubricant to the grommet itself. Make sure you clean the grommet as best you can, dry it off, and then I'm going to apply some silicone to the outside of it so that when it goes into the opening, it gets some extra sealant for that. So let me try that now. So I'm just going to rub it around the edges so that it is thoroughly coated. Then I'm going to insert it back into the opening. And it goes right in there. And since I applied the silicone to the outside as well, I can now slide the motor back in. By the way, it's probably a good idea to clean the motor out too if you can. You notice anything in there, try to get it out. And I also applied a little bit of the silicone to the connector here. So at this point, I'm going to push it in to the grommet. Sorry if I'm blocking it. It's just kind of hard to do with the camera angle here. And then push it in. Should snap back into place. And it feels like it is all the way in. You can look and see that it is touching the outside of the grommet. And then the top here is right by this bracket, so we are good. Just in case, I would test it. Don't close everything up yet. I would start filling the tank, about a third of the way, and check the seal around here. Just make sure that nothing is leaking. And if this is the first time that you are replacing the sensor, I recommend doing this process first and then go up to the sensor right here. And what you're going to need to do is remove it, inspect it, and replace the sensor. And you may also need to replace the connector if it is rusted out. And you can reference my other video on how to do that. So this is a more thorough method of replacing the sensor and making sure that the washer fluid tank is clean, removing any of the sediment or rusted parts that fell off of the sensor, and you get that cleaned out, and that's about it. So you can start filling this up. And one thing I'm going to do right now is I am going to check the status of the sensor. Since I have this emptied out, I might as well look at it. So I'm going to remove the sensor and inspect the contact points inside. So let me go do that right now. Well, there is my plug removed. And wouldn't you know it, it is also rusting. So that is unfortunate. Here is what the new one looks like. I'll get that one out. So you can look at the difference between the two right here. Yeah, not very good. I'm kind of disappointed that in only a period of 3 weeks that it is becoming rusted out. So eventually this will fail again. So I'm not sure what the correct solution with this is, because these are pretty good sensors and I'm pretty sure they have stainless steel points on them and better construction than the OEM sensor. However, not looking too good here. So there may be a recommendation of just putting in a new sensor here, have it installed, but don't use the connector so that there's not a flow of electricity between these two. Basically, that's how the sensor works. It is when it's in liquid, electricity flows from one point to the other, and when the tank is empty, there's no fluid and the sensor circuit is open. That is an interesting thing. I'm not sure what we're going to do long term with this. If you want to replace these every year, that may be an option, but the sensor itself is not that bad to replace. However, the connector can be a hassle. So you don't want this to get too bad so that the washer fluid leaks through the sensor part here and then goes into the connector, and then it rusts out the connector. It's up to you if you want to do this method of just taking a new sensor, insert it, but don't connect the cable here. And if you don't connect this cable, I recommend sealing it with electrical tape and or wire loom on top to keep it from the elements. And then the sensor itself, yeah, I'm going to have to revisit this in the future and see what we can do about it. But unfortunately, this is not looking good right here. I also recommend using the silicone spray around the outside where the grommet goes in, so it has a better waterproof connection. And here's what the sensor looks like when I just wrap the end of it in silicone and wire loom so that nothing can get in here. So then I am going to insert this into the tank. I am going to test this for a couple months and see if there's any effect on it. I kind of doubt we'll have a problem, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see the results of this test. And we'll be looking forward to what we can do with that. So thanks to Eric on the FOA Discourse site for investigating this information. And yeah, we'll be looking into it in more detail. This just temporarily will keep this waterproof on the end here so I don't have to worry about anything happening with this connector. And then also I recommend putting some wire loom around that to keep it clean. All right, so I am just going to tuck this behind here and maybe zip tie it so that it doesn't move around. So once this is done, you can now fill the tank with the washer fluid. Make sure there's no leaks from the motor or the sensor. And if everything works out well, continue to fill up the tank. Here's the bucket with the wiper fluid that was extracted from the tank. As you can tell, it is pretty murky here. I mean, that was the original color. So definitely a lot of sediment and gunk that was on the bottom of that tank. Make sure you take any of this type of used fluid with anything you would normally do with automotive products that you need to recycle or bring to a hazardous waste center. You don't want to be dumping this onto the ground. So definitely think about what you're doing when you do this sort of replacement and dispose of properly. And otherwise, that's about it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.